Hello, I'm Lynn Lassotovitch, and I'm with Central Valley Talk. Today's October the 6th, and we finally can breathe the air that's outside. So that part is fun. We're here to, I have Janie Jurkovich. Did I pronounce that right?
That's close enough.
She also goes by Janie J. I get that one a lot easier. So Janie's all about talking about how her life has changed and how she can help you to build a better life, help you through maybe some of the stumbling blocks that we had to go through so that you don't have to. Janie, you said that what I got from your book is which is typical, you kind of lost yourself after getting out of a long-term relationship.
Exactly.
And you had to, can you tell me about finding yourself?
Okay. I was in my 60s. My husband of a long time, 35 years, he left one day, and I basically decided to reinvent my life. I thought my life is in shambles. I'm tens of thousands of dollars in debt. I just started a new job as a real estate broker in commercial real estate. I had a big, expensive, my dream home. Finally, that was a big deal to me because we'd moved around for a lot of years with him being in the military. So I just said, you know, I'd been working and working so hard, and I just told myself, I cannot live the rest of my life like this. It's not doable. I'm going to burn out. I'm going to have a heart attack or something. And I didn't like working that hard. So I decided to figure out how to live my best life. And so I spent a lot of time reflecting and trying to figure that out. And as a result, I wrote my first book called Live the Life You Have Imagined, which is simple ways to start living your best life. And then I wrote another book about, it's called Single and 60, and that was about my personal struggle and getting through the divorce and figuring out life on my own. And it's kind of humorous. And if anybody knows or remembers Irma Bombeck, it's kind of like that. You know, funny instances of things that broke and me trying to fix them. And also it shows a will and determination of someone that will go alone. For instance, one time I remember when everything kept breaking at my place, I just sat in my car in the garage and cried, and I shouted out to God, if you are trying to tell me that I need a man in my life, I'm not going to do it. And I was like determined, you know, one more thing broke and I had to fix this and that, and it was at times it was pretty hard. And I mean, I was doing things like changing tires on the golf cart before I went to a business meeting for real estate, and I learned a lot of things like don't wear white pants and that kind of stuff. But so I write books to help encourage people to live their best life. And
if I could butt in, she is a bestseller as of this week.
Yes, yes.
Another number one, isn't it?
Yes. Last week we launched my fifth book, this book, and it was on Kindle, and it made number one in at least 2 categories. And
Show us the little badge on it.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
And then yesterday we launched again for the paperback, and we got number one in at least 2 categories. So it's kind of different than my first books. This is, the categories have to do with religion and spirituality, New Age. One's channeling, another one was past lives, another one was graphology, which means writing. I didn't know what that was. So what happened is on my journey of self-discovery, I spent a lot of time every day being quiet and trying to figure out answers. Because if you've been a workaholic like I was, I call it spiritually starved workaholic, you just don't ever have time to sit and think about, is there more to life? You know, you're so busy working and doing, you never have a chance to be a human being. And so I spent a lot of time doing that, and I was able to tap into my intuition, and I was able to become what I would call a channel between this realm and the spirit realm. And so I can tap into wisdom and guidance from that realm, that dimension, however you want to call it. And that was quite odd for me. I didn't know anything about that. So I was really afraid to tell anyone for a long time.
I was really surprised in your book that, you know, you talked about religion, and you talked about God, and then you talked about other ways to referring to God, and I was surprised.
Right. Well, what I believe, and this is what I was told through my spirit guides, because again, I tapped into my intuition, and I would hear these voices, and they would give me guidance, and I started calling them my spirit guides. I didn't know people had that. It wasn't until later, and I Googled it and read other books, that everybody has spirit guides. They told me that, but I didn't believe them until I went and checked, and there's all kinds of books on spirit guides. But they told me that there's more than one way to God, and it doesn't matter what you call him or her, God, the universe, source, whatever. It's all the same thing. And the reason we have different religions, and the reason you have spirituality, which isn't necessarily a certain religion, is because different ways resonate with different cultures. If you think about it, if you grew up in the Middle East, then you're more, it's more likely that you'll be Muslim. And if you're, depending where you live in the world or how you grew up, whether or not you're Catholic or Protestant or Jewish or whatever. But it doesn't really matter, because all religions teach the same things.
One of the things too that I find interesting, and I see that a lot of people, when they become single again, especially the older, how did you you recreated yourself?
Right. Well, I started by one of the things I found out when I wrote my first book is that women neglect self-care. And honest to goodness, I didn't know what self-care even was. I didn't realize that you needed to take care of yourself, because I grew up in the 50s, so we were taught that you take care of your family, and then then we could work outside the home, so you could do that too, but you still had all your responsibilities at home, and there wasn't any such thing as a mommy time or me time. It was like it was so far off my radar, it would not have even been, I wouldn't even have thought I was allowed to go get a pedicure or go to lunch with my girlfriends or go to a movie. It was like, well, there was always something to do. And I look back now and I laugh, because, it would be nothing for the men to go off and be gone all day Saturday to go play golf and drink. And then, the woman's home, taking 2 kids to soccer practice, cleaning the house, doing the grocery shopping and all that. Well, that was my life. So I learned that I needed to tap into self-care. And along the way, I, instead of being in my, I would call it male energy of business-like, making money and being real organized and all that sort of thing, I tapped into my femininity. So instead of wearing really plain clothes or just barely any makeup or having really short plain hair and little tiny earrings and barely any lipstick and, wearing really sturdy, old-fashioned clothes, that I thought, well, why not? I could do what I want, and I went out and bought all kinds of new underwear and flashier clothes and started, getting my hair done lighter and lighter, and I let it get long, and then I let it get short, then sometimes it's curly, and I decided that I like being feminine. So I really do look a lot different. And then I also lost 35 pounds, which may not sound like much, but I went from an extra large to a medium. So that's a big difference. Right. And then I got a lot more fit. I went.
You're a jogger now.
Right. I actually, I went to a boot camp a few years ago and got in shape. And then I started jogging, and a friend recruited me to what they call it a master's level running group, which just means it's people over 50. And I ran with them, and they talked me into going to meets. And 2 years ago, I went to the National Senior Games in track and field, and I placed in the top 10 in the nation in 2 events. And that might not sound like much, but it was a lot of work. I mean, I'm talking running 20 to 30 miles a week in practice. Wow. But most of the people you're competing with, they ran track in high school or college. I never did any of that. I played tennis for a couple of years in high school. That was it.
Now, you have a new book that's going to be, you're working on other books.
Right. I have lots of books in process, but I've been in real estate for the last 25 years, so I've had to cut down my responsibilities being a property manager and then quit being a real estate broker so that I could focus on the books. So the reason that I wrote this book, The Unimagined Awakening, was because of the next book. Because the next book is a big book. It's the entire book was channeled, and that means that I sat quietly and they call themselves ascended masters, which means they're more evolved beings in a higher dimension. They dictated the whole book to me, and it is all about why we're here and all the lessons we are to learn. So it's 100 lessons that we are supposed to learn while we're here. And I was told that during my lifetime, this would be my mission to transcribe these books, get them published, and to go out and teach it, and of course live it, because that's part of, you got to do is you want to teach people what to live that way, not just do what I say. And they told me there would be 3 discourses. So interestingly enough, just a month or so ago, I started getting the downloads for the second volume, and I'm more than halfway done with that.
You've become quite a prolific author.
Oh, I just sit and do it all day.
Right. Thank you for coming on. Okay. Central Valley Talk, and I'm excited about your journey, many journeys, and do you have a closing, anything to say in closing?
I'd like to say, if you want to know more about this, my women's website, the one to encourage women, is www.janiej.net. And if you want to know about the more spiritual stuff, you should go to www.thenewiammovement.com. And I have videos and blogs and that sort of thing, so you can find out more about what this journey is.
You have a teaching series too, don't you? Have DVDs or something?
I have I have 2 online courses right now. One is about called Positivity Reboot, and the other one is Cheat Your Way to Better Habits. The other thing I'd like to mention is you can go to YouTube. I have a couple of YouTube channels, but the one that I would encourage people to go to the most is Janie J. Soul Connector. And there'll be little snippets in there of what is in the upcoming book, which is called The New I Am Document, Volume 1. And you can kind of see what these little lessons are that we're supposed to learn. I thought they were pretty entertaining and give you a different perspective on things in life, because often we think that we exist alone, and we don't. We're actually all connected.
We really enjoyed this today. We've learned so much. And again, this is Central Valley Talk. I'm Lynn Lassotovitch. Here we are with a renowned author. Check her out, folks. She's come a long, they say, you've come a long way, baby.
Thank you.